So.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining today's conversation on how artificial intelligence is reshaping the ordinary, basically. Those small everyday moments that redefine how we think, code, and design and organize. We're thrilled to have Daniel Huszar with us today, host of the Discover the Ordinary podcast. Daniel brings a distinctive mix of technology, strategy, and storytelling, exploring how artificial intelligence shows up not just in breakthrough projects, but in the texture of daily work and learning. But before we dive into the questions, a quick word on how we will run today's session. Catherine and I will first lead the discussion with Daniel through a few guiding questions to set the scene. While we talk, you're invited to share your thoughts and questions in the chat. We'll turn to them in the second half of our conversation. So, to get us started and to set the tone for today's session, Daniel, would you like to briefly introduce yourself and share a bit about your current focus with Discover the Ordinary?
Yeah, sure, Bob. And you made me sound really great, so thank you for that. Hope I can live up to that promise, and great to be here with you guys. Amazing. Thanks for inviting me. So my name is Daniel Huszar. I have been working with technology for the last 20 years, basically. And what I did is I sold basically machine learning risk systems, factoring systems in this supply chain finance space. And there was some machine learning involved, but the systems, they're rules-based. So now we have rules-based systems, and now we have systems that are sometimes not so rules-based, and they sometimes do what they want in a way. And then there was this ChatGPT moment in late 2022 when somehow the AI was no longer running in the background, running all these analytics, these machine learning algorithms, but you could directly interact with your AI. And that what made me really, really curious. And I immediately included it in my consulting practice. What I have seen in the last years, we've seen a lot of revolutions, the internet revolution, and we had blockchain. I'm not sure if it delivered on its promise, but maybe it will be. But I have never seen anything like this. So I immersed myself completely. And it was an evolution from, I would say, personal use in my consulting practice, with doing research, writing reports for clients, but then also teaching people how to use large language models in their daily work, mainly executives, and implemented in companies, basically. And now also building prototypes to sell the vision of products that don't exist yet.
Yeah. Wonderful. And I mean, how has your relationship to AI shifted or evolved?
Yeah, it basically did that. I saw it as a really complicated algorithmic tool, that runs in the background. And I work with it. I also work directly on the products with the engineers, like as a translator between the client, what the client wants or what a bank wants, and what the engineer has to do, basically. And now I feel a lot of this kind of control is back into the hands of really curious people like me and also my clients, where you can interact directly with the AI, and it's not just something running on someone else's software system, but you are running it in a way much more directly.
On YouTube, I got a question: should we be afraid of, not you, but of AI?
well, oh, that's a good, yeah. That is the question, isn't it? Not I don't think so. We if we stay curious and if we stay up to date somewhat with the technology, and if we immerse ourselves in it as much as we can. I mean, I realize not everyone has the time in their practice. Some people run jobs that are very rules based. There's not much room for creativity, for example. But I can just encourage everyone to immerse themselves as much as possible in this technology, maybe in their private lives, even to plan their next holiday or something like that. Just because it's fun also, and this is coming anyways. This will change how we do our jobs, I think, in a very meaningful way. And this time it's not only about automation. So this is maybe also the title of this webinar, but it's also about white collar work. It's coming for executives as well, right? And in the past it was always like, oh, we're going to automate your job away, something like that. But this time it's coming for everyone in a way. So yes and no, maybe.
So, because to catch on that, Daniel, many people think that it's all about making it more efficient and automate work and so on. Do you see actually also the possibility, because you mentioned it kind of already between the lines, is it also looking more like what is really the value you can bring? So really like solving problems. Do you see also an evolution possible there, or actually already happening?
Yeah, no, that's a good. Yeah, that's exactly the point. A lot of if something new comes out, some innovation, we always try to tack it on the things that exist, and that is natural, because we think like, how can we make ourselves better? And if you have a lithium battery and you're gonna tack it on your bicycle, you get an e-bike. But maybe a true e-bike is something much better, where you can use that electricity to power the GPS, to power a lot of other things, and then you build the product from the ground up. And this is what I see with AI as well. It makes us more efficient. We think about automation, we think about all of these things, and that is not wrong. I'm absolutely not, and it can prove a fast ROI that we can invest in other things. But I tend to see the true ROI, because this is such a paradigm shift of LLMs, especially like ChatGPT, in doing things that were not possible before. Because, and what wasn't possible before is to generate huge amounts of things, right? Like of text, of thinking, of intelligence in a way, thinking strategically, like with the AI as a strategic co-pilot to iterate on your thoughts and strategy, and code. And then if you think about it, code is everything. And that's why I call it the everything machine, right? And what is possible because of that? If we think, and this is partially the present and a little bit of the future, if you think about the long tail of software development, for example, it is feasible now somewhat to build an app, or like for one person only, to use only once. And that is something that wasn't possible before, right? And it doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe it's a mortgage calculator, like a thing, I need that now. I need a high level calculation of what I can afford, or something like that. And you give it, and you don't code. You just interact with AI, and then maybe it even in the future will come up with a, let me build this for you, because this is easier than just giving it the text. And what you can do with that as well is you can compress, and this is what I'm doing in my work as well. If you have an idea for an app, or how to create value, or for a feature for your software, you can build this in a couple of days now, and it looks really great. You can show it to internal stakeholders, to prospects, to clients, and then you can validate that. And it's no longer, let's go to this 3 months, 6 months cycle, spend 250K, but like spend maybe 10K or something like that, and then get that result. Much faster. So unlocking things that we couldn't do before.
I mean, I I spent my whole weekend on coding together with AI and preparing everything, And Monday morning, I turn on the website and just look at the results, and the machine had put it back to a previous version of the initial version of my website, or the website we
Mhm.
were building together. I mean, I have been absolutely delighted about that. Um, but the other thing, when the question I'm having is, what are these surprises organization have when they adopt AI? And I'm talking about that because we start to see a reversal of, going back to companies firing developers, software engineers, and now bringing them back because exactly of this unpredictable and surprising behavior. What do they need? Companies need to make sure of.
Mhm.
Just
That's
like,
that's perfect, and it's perfect because you experienced it. The pain is so real, of and I did too. Everybody who coded with AI support knows this. Yeah, so there we have the positive surprise. You can do something that looks good very fast, and you can iterate on it to make it look very good in a very reasonable amount of time. That is amazing. So it's not just a stupid parrot. That's
no.
what that was what the first, the surprise. And then the second surprise is, of course, this is what we call maybe like the hallucination problem, or context drift, or these kinds of things. Maybe it does really catastrophic things that gives you wrong information, and that gives you or it looks just horrible. And yeah, so I'm thinking, like, in a way, the value of the expert is that can work with this new paradigm is more, not less. Hence the unfiring or whatever you call it of the developers, right? Because this is the very strange paradigm. Is what if I told someone 10 years ago, 20 years ago, what if you have a machine that can do basically everything, but will be wrong 20% of the time, but it gets you 80% there if you know how to work with it? What could you do with that? And that is what organizations have to ask themselves. What can you do with a thing that is not software, but which is a little bit software, but it's not deterministic anymore? What can you do? And the answer that I have found, right now, for myself and also for my clients, is that we have to let go of this old way of thinking that it needs to be perfect. But
Mhm.
what if you had a really good draft of something, and then you would iterate on it? And people need to work with that in their specific context, right? There are some
Yeah.
best practices for that, but you need to immerse yourself. You need to be frustrated, you need to hate it, and then you need to put guardrails on it, like GitHub. I can only recommend, you have GitHub to roll back your changes, for example, and versioning, and these kinds of things. The guardrails become also more important. Yeah, in a
Can
way.
can I ask you here, Bob? May I ask a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
Many companies or there are so many companies who have legacy systems. How can AI help to rejuvenate these software? Do you think that there is a potential? I'm thinking now, for instance, software like we have it since 50 years, or maybe even more longer, in, for instance, in the travel industry, in everything which is around tickets. Is that something, because we put, the technology allowed us to put layer on layer on it to make it look easier, but in the background there is still, the old code running. Or also, I'm thinking about SAP, for instance, with ABAP. The millions and millions and millions of code lines that there are. Do you think that AI can be of some help to rejuvenate some of these legacy systems?
Mhm. So I think so, and I will draw on conversations that I had with senior developers around that, and what's
Mhm.
emerging. Because the thing is, we cannot answer this now definitely, because I would
Yeah.
say roughly 12 to 18 months this has been possible. The term like vibe coding was invented exactly 1 year ago, actually. So this is how, and before that was invented, it was possible to code there. So best practices are emerging. That's the thing. You do something and then you fail, and then like this. And what I'm hearing, I have basically two types of engineers here, or three. Like, one of them, they don't want to hear anything about this, and they say this is horrible, this is going to mess up my code base. Fine, okay, not much of a conversation to have here, but I understand the point.
There is danger.
Yeah, it's I respect the opinion. It's fine, and then we have two more. And number one is a very seasoned engineer, 20, 30 plus years of experience, also with their code base. And they teach it they use it as an autocomplete on steroids. Basically, it's a very, very tight leash. That's actually the metaphor that my friend used. It's a very, very tight leash. And then if they go further, they maybe fine tune it on their code base and things like that. And then they kind of work with that and see what breaks and what works. And then so yes, in essence, yes, possible, yeah. And then there's the second kind of engineer. Let's say from vibe coder to serious engineer, but they say basically the guy who made Moltbook, this Reddit clone that's all over the internet, right? Like this thing. He said, I use Codex, OpenAI, ChatGPT with Codex, and I don't know what code I ship, and I don't care because natural language is now my code, basically. So this is the very extreme. Other thing, if we talk about legacy code bases, this is probably not going to work today. I don't know how smart these things will get in the future. Nobody knows. But I think you will always need guardrails and to make sure of it. But interestingly, in my experience, and I helped migrate a lot of like COBOL systems. Yeah. And if the head engineer of that system quits, you have kind of a very similar problem because nobody understands the code base anymore. So that's a really funny, ironic thing that is happening there. And you don't touch it, and you hope it doesn't break, and you make an API and you build a nice front end for it. And that's what you do. So we kind of have that problem already. So this is more a psychological lever in a way. And maybe one last thing. I think the thing about is to have rules-based systems software that, I type A, it types A. Great, and we have to somehow marry them to these non-deterministic systems and see how much interaction, how much freedom will we give in a coding agent versus what rules-based systems and guardrails need to be into place. And I think that a lot of companies with big legacy systems, they will be very cautious. They will be on the more cautious side. And then there's the question, because if you're less cautious, of course, you're faster. and the question will be what is the trade-off of that? And the best practices will emerge while people experiment with this and work with this also in production. And the models improve. Sonnet 5 should come out this week. So we don't know. Maybe in the future we won't be get 70-80% there, but 90. And what happens then, right?
Excellent.
So I also grasp a little bit, Daniel, that with artificial intelligence, where we get more clarity, we're a little bit more in control. At the same time, I want to grasp back what you just said. Also, like you could be like 80% is correct, etc. So, are we aware that we're actually creating new dependencies, and where should we actually be careful about? Short example: suppose you do strategy work, you want to advise a company, you do some market research, you get a report out of it. And say like, I think this is wrong. But at least my experience is that if you ask that to a model, large language model, it can confirmation, hey, well spotted, yeah, you're right. And then it starts actually to convince you with all kinds of new information that they are right.
Yeah.
So how can we deal with that?
Yeah. No, very, very good question also. So that is, I would say this is almost a philosophical problem that we have there. It is because when you, we're going back to this expert in the loop and the importance of the expert. If you have very, very high stakes decisions to make, and you think along with the AI for your pitch deck, for your strategy of your company, annual strategy, or something like that, of course, I mean, you can run it through different models. You can make an adversarial prompt that it really tries to destroy your strategy. What can go wrong with this? But it is a little bit of prompting skill, of strategic skill, but then it's human in the loop. And of course, you will talk to your board, and you can there's even boards and teams that prompt together. That is a very, it's like a kind of a team effort. I have done this once or twice already. And it was an idea. It's very, very useful and very strange to do this, to actually talk to an entity that is incredibly smart and incredibly stupid at the same time, because of this. But then you have the experts in the room that will say, we need to discard this part of the answer because we know in fact that this didn't work. And then we look at the maybes. We look at the maybes, and we look at the truly adversarial things. And that, what can you think about, like a problem? What can you think about all going wrong with this? Be brutally honest. Give me, and this is important. Like really, let it loose. And then what you can also do is put together an agent and have different models run around, because some models are way more friendly. That was what ChatGPT did in last summer. I think was this summer. I don't even remember, when 4.0 was really like, you're a genius at everything. That is horrible. I feel that, I don't know, let's say Gemini is a bit more precise at that, but this changes all the time. So and what I would do also is, with these strategic things, really a lot of experts then should talk to it, and you validate also without AI, of course. And before you do anything customer facing, you really have to have that kind of thing and implemented, the way of working, the way of thinking with it, because then you will know the guardrails that you need to make that a good, even if it's a chatbot for customers or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guardrails. I love that, because I mean, critical thinking should still remain at the forefront of whatever we do. So the question that I have is, and it goes a little bit in, I'm sorry to insist, but in the discussion we had earlier, what changes when AI reveals complex code bases? Because I'm thinking about that, because I have don't want to tell who it is, but I have a former developer team that they will basically be all retired in 5 years from now. A software which is absolutely unbelievably strong, but a lot of legacy code behind it. So
Mm.
to change it through a new software, there won't be the people there with all the knowledge to implement it, and to say, to evaluate if it is feasible, yes or no. And the reason why I'm really insisting on that point changes when AI reveals complex code bases.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's I think in a way this is very hard to predict, because it depends on the intelligence of the models. Will we have, basically, I mean, the question is basically, will we have, when everybody's gone for one reason or another, will we have an engineer that can still do the work automatically, or something like that? With the current capabilities that I'm seeing and discussing, maybe not today, in a way like that. But let's just assume that, like, something terrible happened and everybody's gone tomorrow, and you have a legacy system that you no longer understand. At the very least, you can bring in skilled engineers and business people that know, the purpose of all of this, what was the purpose and what should be the purpose of this. And you could chat to your code base and understand what is probably going on. You you can build an agent to chat to your code base and to say what is going on conceptually, what do we actually need to preserve. And that is something that you were not able to do, and you can probably do many more things, even today, because I'm a few people that are at the absolute forefront of this, migrating huge systems that are worth billions. They probably have a better answer to say, okay, what is possible and what is not. But that is one piece of the puzzle that I see is really to understand what is happening at your code base, what is worth preserving, what is not, and how, and then you can say, okay, show me the code that does that actually, and then you can go in. But still, if you're like, there was this very funny job requirement, like before LLMs, even, that you say, what, if you're a young person now, learn to develop COBOL and you'll get a 6-figure salary at your first job. or something like that, just because at least, even though you're junior, but at least you will understand the syntax of these things. You just have to learn all the other stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Daniel, we briefly touched upon a topic called strategy, and I want to grasp back to that. And at the same time, you have a background in philosophy and documentary filmmaking. So now you
Long
already
time
start
ago,
feeling
yeah.
it probably. Yeah, but now you start feeling it already. Do you actually see artificial intelligence helping us to change the narrative organizations tell themselves about capability and purpose? Because now we're using machines to help us strategize. Is there then also a change in the assumptions we actually making, and what should actually organizations do now while everybody's still figuring out how to do this?
Yeah.
If you grasp what I'm...
Absolutely. That is, no, it's a very that's a very interesting question, because it is very hard to grasp what is even possible today, and it is very hard to grasp what will be possible, tomorrow and the day after that, and it is, and it's not like, and nobody does, like, I'm fully immersed in this and I don't have time to test all the models and things like that. But what changes is that we really need to understand, especially the curious people in various roles at companies, about what is possible in their field through this, because this is the same way I'm not thinking about this conceptually as like a new software or something like that. I'm thinking about more like, this is a new computer, this is a new internet, and these kinds of things, and a lot of times it's like treated as a feature for efficiency or some nice chatbot or something like that. This is not what it is. Code, you can create code is everything, so you can create everything, even today, a lot of the things. So everybody at the company or every role should, maybe not everybody, but the people that are curious and in leading positions should understand what is possible, experiment with LLMs. And so because of the business people don't know what is possible in general with this technology, how should they come up with even making things better that are already there, or even have new products that are there? And even the technical people, they need to familiarize themselves with the business, because everything was so insulated. And I think, it's always good advice to talk to each other more, but I think this is a prerequisite to do this in the future, because no person alone will come up with all the ideas. Sometimes when I talk to clients, it's like, what? This is an amazing idea. I would have never thought of that, and I do this all day, right? So, and it was a non-technical person that came up with the idea, and a non-technical person, former non-technical person, vibe codes something, and I'm just like, this is what I mean. Does that make sense? I'm like, yes, it does. It could, and so this rapid prototyping is really, really cool. I think this is what is going to happen a lot, and I see it in my business practice every day, to bring all these stakeholders together so that you have a common vision: technical people, non-technical people, business, and all these kinds of roles and people. And then one thing that could and will change is and we touched upon this with the long tail of software and long tail of digital products, which we saw explode. We have a streamer that made, you know, millions or a good life from streaming video games, and which is a very small, you know, very specialized channel in a way. And we will have the long tail, it will just explode from here on, you know, individual software for one use, individual, you know, with someone who can't code, who don't know that they are coding because the LLM just generates it. And then people who code and they make an app for a very, that wasn't viable before. So if the one key thing somebody should take away about this technology is the potential for individual products. Because an LLM can react, you know, let's say a Netflix movie only for you. Or we have the same Netflix movie, but I have a different ending. Music only for you. Like I had on Spotify, there's a lot of AI music, and some of the stuff is it's scarily good, and I hate it, you know, because of that. I heard something that could have been from a soundtrack of an 80s movie with a lot of synthesizer in it, and I was like, what is this movie? And I look at the cover, it's obviously AI, because I never heard of these people and I know all 80s movies. And the individualization, we will not, if we think our culture is fragmented now, think about how this will be in the future, when the bubble that you are in is no longer, I don't know, like 80s film buffs, but
Yes.
it is your film. Maybe you made it, maybe it was made for you according to your preferences and things like that. So this is the level of individualization that we are going towards. That's and you can quote me endlessly on this, like this, and I don't know how long it will take. And how easy it will be, maybe 5 years, maybe 10, maybe 2, but we'll get there. So don't wait for best practices. Immerse yourself. Immerse yourself now. Basically, just you know, and develop your own best practices for your business, because this is bigger than just we have an autocomplete on our Apple keyboard thingy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Bob, do you want to say now before I end our webinar?
No, well, with Daniel, we can talk for hours on anything basically. So
always.
So, what I take with me is definitely that twofold. It is first, yes, it is possible to re-engineer, or let me call it rejuvenate, legacy systems, but with guardrails, as you said it, because it recognizes patterns, and it helps also with streamlining code and taking away redundancies that we obviously build in it. And the other thing is, you were talking about individualization, yes, but I think that also in classrooms, to have, your, like what you said was you working with the board, with AI, is that if you do work on business cases together with the students, with an AI, it can really foster and it leapfrog the learning curve of everyone. Not only the students, most likely also of the professor. So, absolutely. So, thank you so much. It was really wonderful. And to the audience, if you have some questions so that anyone can also, or everyone here can benefit from it, ask the question also in the chat. Danielle or Bob and I will also have a look at. We will make sure to reply it. And if you want to work with Danielle, well, definitely where to reach him. So, Danielle, thank you so much. And Bob, it was again a pleasure having you as my co-moderator. And then see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine and Bob. Amazing. Thank you. Good to be here.
So.